Hey guys, thank you for coming to my channel. In this video, I'll be teaching you the difference between quit, quiet, and quiet. So what does quit mean? Quit is a verb and it means to stop doing something. It's also commonly used when talking about quitting a job or quitting something in general. Some synonyms for quit are leave, exit, and depart. Now let's use the word quit in sentences. So the first example says, I quit my job at McDonald's yesterday. As you can see, quit is being used in this sentence to indicate that the person left their job or they're no longer at the job. Example 2 says, quit bothering me. In this sentence, quit is being used as another word for stop. So you could also say, stop bothering me. Example number 3 says she decided to quit smoking cigarettes. As you can see in this example, quit is also being used to say stop pretty much. So if I reread this and said she decided to stop smoking cigarettes, it would also make sense. If you're ever wondering if you're using the right form of the word quit, just replace the word quit with its synonym. Like, so if I'm saying I quit my job, in this case, its synonym would be left. So you can replace it with like, I left my job. Or if I'm saying something like, I quit smoking cigarettes, if you're wondering if you use the right form, just replace it with the word stopped. I stopped smoking cigarettes, and it makes sense. Next, we have quiet, which is an adverb, which basically means that it's giving us more information about an adjective, a verb, or another adverb. Quiet is another word for completely. So our first example says, I am quite disappointed with your behavior. If we reread that sentence and say, I am completely disappointed with your behavior, it makes sense. Example 2 says, I am not quite sure how to feel about this. If we reread this sentence and replace quite with completely, I am not completely sure how to feel about this, that also makes sense. And example 3 says, our feelings about this matter aren't quite the same. If we replace quite with completely and say, our feelings about this matter aren't completely the same, that also makes sense. And that's how you know you're using the right form of the word quite. Next, we have definition 2 of quite, and it's also an adverb. It means to a certain degree, fairly. Synonyms are somewhat, slightly, a bit, and sort of. Example 1 says, I'm quite good at drawing. If you take quite out and replace it with one of the synonyms, like let's just say somewhat, and if you said I'm somewhat good at drawing, that would make sense. Whereas if I said I'm completely good at drawing, like nobody says that, so that's how you know you're using the right form of the word quite. This kind of confused me at first because I'm like, wait, one definition of quite means completely and the other means to a certain degree? Like, what? That's confusing. But for me, I know if I'm using the right form of the word quite based off of context clues from the sentence. Example 2 says it's quite cold outside. If you replace quite with like a bit and say it's a bit cold outside, that makes sense. And that's how you know you're using the right word. Example 3 says Hannah was quite irritated when she got home from school. If you replace quite with one of the synonyms like sort of or a bit, that also makes sense. Hannah was a bit irritated when she got home from school. Next, we have quiet, and it's an adjective. Adjectives give us more info about nouns, which is a person, place, or thing. Quiet means making very little or no noise. Synonyms are soft, low, silent. Our first example says the classroom needs to be quiet on exam day. You could also replace the word quiet with silent, and that also makes sense. The classroom needs to be silent on exam day. Example 2 says the kids are gone, which means the house will be very quiet. You can take quiet and replace it with silent, and that also makes sense. So that would read the kids are gone, which means the house will be very silent. Example 3 says my friend is very soft-spoken. A lot of people say she's quiet. The use of quiet in this sentence can mean that my friend's voice is very low, like she doesn't talk loud, or it can mean that she doesn't talk a lot at all. Next, we have definition 2 of quiet, which is also an adjective. This means to carry something out secretly. The synonyms are discreet, private, and confidential. Example 1 says we organized a quiet get-together. If you take out quiet and replace it with private, that would also make sense. We organized a private get-together. Example 2 says I enjoyed having a quiet pregnancy. You can also replace quiet with secret, and it would say I enjoy having a secret pregnancy. Example 3 says to avoid gossip, we decided to have a quiet wedding. You can also replace quiet with private or discreet. That would say to avoid gossip, we decided to have a discreet wedding, and that also would make sense. Next, we have definition 3 of quiet, which is a verb. It means to either make or demand someone to become silent. Example 1 says, please be quiet. This is me telling someone to be quiet, please. Example 2 says, quiet down. This is me demanding someone to be quiet, to not talk at all. And example 3 says, to make the kids quiet down, we usually play the silent game. So I put together some fill in the blank exercises just so you guys can get a little bit more practice. So number 1 says, when you're in the library, please make sure you're being blank. Number 2 says she decided to blank her job at the gas station. Number 3 says your assumption is blank incorrect. Also, there's an answer key, so you'll be able to check your answers. Number 4, the weather today is blank gloomy. Number 5, the room was so blank that I could hear a pin drop. And number 6, blank being rude. Okay, so for our answer key, if you answered quiet for number 1, you were correct. When you're in the library, please make sure you're being quiet. If your answer was quit for number 2, your answer was correct. She decided to quit her job at the gas station. If you answered quiet for number 3, your answer is correct. Your assumption is quite incorrect. If you answered quiet for number 4, your answer is correct. The weather today is quite gloomy. For number 5, if your answer was quiet, you answered correctly. The room was so quiet that I could hear a pin drop. And last but not least, for number 6, if your answer was quit, your answer was correct. Quit being rude. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this video informative. If you did find this video informative, please feel free to comment or subscribe or all of the above, and I'll see you next time.